User in your channel started recording.
Welcome to the iRacers Lounge. I am your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brent McCoy,
Hi.
Chris Scales,
Good evening.
David Hall,
How many wins you got?
Greg Hectus,
Leave it be.
Mason Stiver,
Hey guys.
Tony Groves,
Howdy fellas.
hey, and special guest Jesse Gray.
How's it going?
Hey, welcome. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Jesse, Gray, you are a new team member at Team Tifosi, so welcome. And your first time on the podcast, so let's get to know you a little bit. Tell us where did you first hear about iRacing? What was the circumstance, and when did you first hear about it?
First time was back when Dale Jr. was still involved racing himself, and I want to say whatever it was called before the Peak Series, iRacing Series, and watched a couple of YouTube videos, and videos from there. I just started down the wormhole, and as soon as I got the funding, about 2010 when I started, about 2012, 2013 when I got enough money up and got going, and been at it ever since.
All right, yeah, you've been around since 2012 here, looking at your stats page. Your winning percentage in oval, pretty impressive, 3.9% overall. Looks like you ran most of your laps back in the early years, 2012 through 2014. You have a lot of laps back then.
Yeah, I got into it pretty heavy right off the get-go. Really wanted to learn. It was before this, the only thing I did with a wheel itself was Xbox, and obviously the physics are way different. So I knew I needed to put in laps just to get the physics down. Ever since, I've just been trying to continue to build and learn from there.
All right, very good. Tell us what kind of hardware are you running? Wheels, pedals, sim? How many monitors or VR?
Got a Logitech 920 with play seat and a single 47-inch monitor.
All right, very good. And what about third-party software?
Got TeamSpeak. I also use the sim racing apps. So far that's it.
All right, yeah, sim racing apps is great for the countdown to pit road. That's the big one. And I also use it for fuel calculations and whatnot, oil temp. It's got a lot of good stuff.
Very good information. That was a recent find for me, so that was the pit road countdown was crucial, especially with NIS.
Yeah, when you have that verbal 5, 4, 3, you can almost not even look for your pit. You can just rely on the audio cue.
Yeah, very, very helpful. The like you say, the pit strategy with the fuel, that's extremely helpful. The other thing I personally like is I have the top 10 always up. I'm always comparing my current lap or previous lap to the top 10 and just to see how I'm pacing with them.
All right. Let's talk about what are you currently running? Are you doing official, hosted, league, and how often a week are you running?
As far as league, the only league I'm running in right now is the Northwest Racing Series. Jeff Stabnow and Sean Brightsman do a great job with that series. Being on the West Coast, most of the leagues are East Coast time and just can't make it and commit to running a full season. So I've stuck with those guys, and they do a great job every single week. It is extremely competitive. I think this past week, top 20 was within 2.5, 3/10. So just extremely good group to run with. As far as official, run just the NAS series this time of year. When it's not running, I try to play around with the dirt a little bit. Never been a big fan of the dirt, but ever since I brought it on here, I've kind of ran the 305 sprint car is the main one that I run, but been just trying to learn that side a little bit, and every once in a while I explore onto the road side just to kind of get all that iRacing has to offer.
All right. Well, you're a heck of an oval racer. I've raced with you once. I had some bad luck, but you were doing much better than I.
I just try to get.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just try to get better and better every time out. But yeah, I definitely would say oval is my strength.
All right. Well, we're happy to have you on Team Tifosi. Absolutely. So let's finish up with what is your most memorable iRacing moment so far?
So far, it's just this is my first year now running all full season at NIS is the plan, and I really like running that. Uh, Previously, it would be running just assuming I'm running with the guys named. Uh, I've ran on the dirt side with some Kyle Larson, a little bit of Clint Boyer, names like that. I don't know if I'm running with them. They don't say anything, but regardless, just big K&N guys, stuff of that nature. It's really nice. Just you're not going to get that opportunity anywhere else. And like you mentioned, joining you guys is probably the big thing right now for me. I'm excited to work with you guys and try to build from there and do better. So I appreciate the opportunity to run with you guys.
Yeah, we're happy to have you. It's always fun racing a real racer. I think all of us have run into somebody at some point on the track, and it's always fun when you beat them too.
I've been lucky enough to run right up to the back of Clint Boyer, or I would assume Clint Boyer in the dirt side. So I'm pretty proud of that one. I could agree with that statement.
Yeah, yeah, it's pretty fired up. I remember, I think it was about a year ago, Tony Stewart did some kind of thing with the peak drivers where he was out there at Pocono, and I actually jumped in and ghosted that race, and I was like up behind him, and then I got by him, and then I pulled away from him, and I was like, oh my God, I just passed Tony Stewart.
That,
Yeah.
that
But anyway, that's always a neat thing. But all right, Jesse, great. Thanks for coming on. Let's go into stories. But first, let's talk about our sponsored series. Sim Racing Authority has a league on Sunday nights called the Sunday Night Xfinity iRacers Lounge Podcast Series race. April 28th, they completed at Kentucky. Jake Nichols continued his dominance with another pole and 105 out of 130 laps led in the race. He earns his fourth win of the season. David Shutt coming home second. Kyle Putz third. Delonta Ballard and Nate Tretow round out the top five. With only 3 races remaining in the regular season before the chase, the battle in the standings for the last playoff position is extremely close. Only 12 points separate P10 Delonta Ballard in the standings from P15 Lachlan McMillan. The battle continues Sunday at Martinsville, which is sure to be an exciting event. Now, they also posted that they are looking for new drivers to join that Sunday Xfinity Series. They're on week 8 out of 15, and even though you've missed half of it, they're still looking for drivers to join them. So check it out. All right, let's jump to stories. Chris, Jarl Tien.
Yeah, he tweeted out a post, said, wow, huge thanks to G2 Sim Racing and Logitech for this awesome package. After a decent finish last night in 9th place, this just made my week even better. Yeah, it looks like he's the next driver on the peak list to receive some gear. So you got about $500 worth of Logitech stuff. Got a G29 webcam, mouse pad, a Spectrum headset, and a keyboard.
Nice. Can't turn down free stuff, right?
Heck no. Yeah, it's awesome. Like saying it's still way cheaper than what it costs for real world drivers, I'm sure.
Yeah, and that C922 Pro stream webcam, I have that along with that Spectrum headset, and those are both really nice to have.
Yeah, somebody had replied on that post that was a headset they had used, and it was the best one they ever had. Didn't really look like anything special in the picture, but yeah, it must be pretty awesome. And
So-
for less than $100, I think I spent like $250 on my Astros.
That's the headset I use and the camera I use as well.
Same good reviews.
Yeah, the headset's amazingly, yes. 7.1
wireless?
surround sound wireless. It's really good.
Yeah, I have the wired version of that, and I love them.
Yeah, Logitech Spectrum. If you're in the market for a headset, sounds like that's the way to go for under $100.
I had the camera too, and also good reviews.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. I got this one. Season 2 Patch 3 was released May 2nd. They fixed a bunch of little things in beta UI as usual. Official series fixed registration and practice issues for the first event of the week. Sometimes when it switched over, there were some registration issues. They did fix that alien invasion green glow in the rendering problem. I saw this the other night, and Mason, you saw it too when you were spotting for me, didn't you?
Oh yeah, I've seen it a bunch of times on my own. But yeah,
Yeah.
I could see it outside your car.
Yeah, so watch for that to be fixed. And a bunch of stuff in VR. There's new options for alignment fixes added to the OpenVR section of the renderer dx11.ini file in My Documents iRacing folder. There's several things in there that you can adjust. Mason, anything that we should go over?
Yeah, we got the mirror. You overwrite the eye, which is frustrums, top and bottom with left eye. So it's just all this correcting stuff for your VR headset if it's not working well. I'm not a huge VR person, so David or Chris might be able to talk more about this. But
Okay, now it's ringing a bell. Certain units, I think like the Vive, they need certain settings to work better than other VR goggles, and so this gives a few options where you can toggle those off. I think that's what I remember reading.
yep, sounds
Yeah, I
about right.
haven't really had any issues. So with the Rift, it works pretty fine. The only thing that looks interesting is this thing with the vertical mirror, which I'm going to have to look a little bit more into with the virtual mirror. But
Vertical shift on the mirror, yeah. Something like that. All right, let's keep moving. David, season 3 schedule for the roadside.
all right, the iRacing staff is asking for the community members to submit documents for schedule and length of races. I glanced down the replies, one of them, and it looks like there's a lot more in season 3 for most of the different divisions that are going to be pretty well set by real life schedule. But still, any of the off weeks, they definitely try to go with what the community asks for. So you'll see links in the show notes. Go on there and submit forms if you're interested.
Yeah, that's just 3 of the road series. We just took a sampling of the links. There's about 35 or something. So he actually posted 35 different times in each and every series they have, looking for feedback. And so if you want to do feedback, you really need to go to that forum for that particular series and find the post. All right, Tony Grove, throwback.
Yeah, this started out on Twitter, and it looks to me like Dale Jr. actually kind of kicked this subject off, posting a picture of some older late 80s, early 90s cars on tracks, and the question pops up, if get some of those historical cars onto the sim, and Steve Myers replied saying that they have talked about it, but they weren't sure if there's a market for it. They fear if they build the cars that they won't come. I fully disagree with that. I'm sure they are. I'm sure people will buy them. Followed all that up on the forums with a poll asking people, and majority 69%, 190 people are ready to jump on this idea if they get it going. I think this would be cool. I'd love to see some of these old cars.
Yeah, I'm sure there's plenty of leagues that would run this, and there's definitely. I'm curious though. They have some classic road car official series. I wonder how those have been doing.
Well, if you look back, even if you go to NASCAR 2003, that this all came from, if you look at how many people would download these old cars to upload it into the game as a mod, that would tell you why these people would use this. I think it's a good idea. I think leagues is probably the biggest area, like you're saying, is where it's going to be popular, but you could probably run an old time schedule with it and have a sanctioned series running older versions of tracks like they used to or whatever.
Yeah, you have an alternate NIS series that runs a 1987 Cup car. That'd be
I'd
cool.
buy it.
And you
Test
run
out.
the schedule from 1987 too.
Test out the new tire model.
I would buy it. I mean, those cars look cool. And back then, you got to look at the picture. The cars are not sealed to the ground. They don't have all these ground effects. They don't have the the thing that touches the pavement. There's nothing on the front. A big old scoop to scoop up grass. All that's missing, and so it's really a mechanical device where mechanical grip rules. And I'm sure arrows. They punch a big hole. It looks like an arrow too. If you look at the front of Darrell Waltrip's car, it's flat. I mean, it's flat, and that's not good for aero. But obviously the racing was kind of interesting back then.
Well, and Brent, this is really good for you because they'll have analog gauges on the dash, so you'll really like that.
There you go.
I'm telling you, man, it makes you faster.
All right, let's keep moving. Brent, preview for damage.
Yeah, damage. It's coming to iRacing. Sooner or later, we're going to get it. iRacing went and released a video showing the new damage model. There's 3 cars or 4 cars in the video. There's the Corvette at Detroit, the Skippy, the Aston, the Formula 3 car, the Renault car. The damage model looks pretty good for what they have so far. Understand, guys, that this is going to be a long process going through each car, picking out the physics of the car and the damage that happens. So none of this is going to be released all at one time. Alexander Horn went and made a note, I believe, stating that this was going to be released throughout time. And the first cars that are probably going to be released, he could not confirm this, but the first ones that are probably going to be released are what you see in the video. So it's a great looking video. You got wheels flying off the Skippies. You got independent wheel damage and how they realistically damage the suspension of the car. And it just looks like an overall wonderful thing that's going to be coming to iRacing here sooner.
I was impressed. I mean, especially with the Corvette stuff. The way, he goes into the tire barrier and the way that the parts are coming off the car, it looks realistic. It really does.
Yeah, it's hard to tell, because a lot of this video is slowed down. But you know how when you get in especially in the Skippies or even the A cars, you get in those accidents and you tend to speed up some, unrealistic. We're like, well, that's just iRacing. From what it looks like here, it looks like they have this pretty well solid as far as physics-wise. Where these cars slow down and the damage looks good. And he also made a comment saying that the damage would stay on the track, but he cannot confirm for how long or short a period of time. And he is not positive that the damage that's left on the track, if you were to run it over, would cause damage to your car. So that might be a new wrinkle that we're going to have to deal with. Just making it more realistic every update.
Cool.
It's interesting. There's the Corvette running into the tire barrier and tires are flying off. So it looks like tires fly off the cars pretty easily.
Well, and I think this is going to help. I think it's going to help the racing too, though, once they do this, because you're going to have cars that probably would normally continue in a race are now going to not be able to finish the race like they used to. If it's got tire damage like that, you'd never have a damage to the Corvette like that's showing in that thing there. If you hit the wall, you probably just bounce off of it and have maybe a little bit of left front damage or whatever. But I think the reason that they're also putting on these certain cars is maybe they'll be bringing them out trying to get some more action in those series too.
Well, they're just doing them one at a time kind of thing. So one car at a time. My big thing is, I imagine an oval race and you're coming around turn 4 and you're presented a litter of debris. Like you've seen that in real IndyCar races where they come around turn 4 and there's just litter and fiberglass everywhere, carbon fiber and shards of it and just pieces and everything. And that's what's going to be cool is I got to pick my way through this stuff.
That comes up with a couple of unforeseen consequences, maybe. What about when crossers are off, like every road course? Is the debris just going to kind of be in the way? Because
it'll disappear after a bit. I
You had to remind me of that, eh?
Well, I'm pointing out that because of the way the yellow flag happens. Trying to make you feel better.
The
part of
the thing is that issue there, or maybe that's a thing that they might have to address where, maybe some of these series do have to start getting full course cautions, maybe.
Or a way to enforce passing under yellow, even on local cautions.
So they also made note that he wasn't intentionally poking fun of the poor General Motors executive that wrecked the Corvette pace car at Detroit, because in the video they had an identical kind of wreck at the same corner, the same spot, the same car, the same track. And everyone at first I thought it was just a pun, but he did mention it wasn't on purpose.
When you have to explain it, it usually is.
All right, Mason. Rallycross Pro Qualifier format announced.
Yep, we got the Pro Series qualifying announced. We have the qualifying series will be a standard iRacing Rallycross series. Like I said, standard series, 12 weeks with 4 drop weeks. There's 13 drivers locked in from 2018. The top 11 drivers in the overall standings from the qualifying series, which is the Rallycross series, who are not current drivers, will be considered for entry. And similarly to last year, 2 spots are reserved for iRacing's discretion for a max field size of 26. Also, similar to last year, there will be no rule against changing cars from race to race, which is very interesting. But they reserve the right to change that. And the prize pool will be $25,000. And the races are Saturday at 13:45 GMT from Thursday night. They're also closing in on a potential sponsor for the series. So, potential for more cool prizes.
Wow. 4 drops in 12 weeks. That's what caught me.
It's nice to see that they might have another sponsor, though, coming in.
So top 11 get moved up to be pros, guys. Go get it, man. Rallycross. $25,000? That's pretty cool. Okay, Chris. Week 6 date change.
Yep, per Tyler Hudson on the forums, week 6 of the iRacing Endurance Le Mans series has changed to the 25th and 26th of May, and that's due to the 24-hour Le Mans being that following weekend, June 1st and 2nd.
All right, that makes sense, right? Try to line it up with the big race.
Yeah, I didn't see anybody complaining about it on the forums. That seems like a good change to me. What do you think, David? You're our road guy.
I thought it was already the week before, so this was news to me. I seem to remember saying something to the other guys that it was going to be the week before, so it was going to be great to get it in as a practice for the 24-hour race.
Yep. And remember how dark it is at Le Mans. They don't have lighting. And through the middle of the night, guys, it is a challenge. I trust you. When the day-night thing first came out, I went and tried it, and it is hard. I hope they fix the headlights for that race.
Turn a few laps, and it gets pretty easy if you're a road guy.
You got to get it memorized, that's for sure. All right, David, hero cards.
So Richmond Motorsports, one of the owners in the Peak Series, is really getting behind their drivers. We had a post from Malik Ray, and they sent him in his snail mail some hero cards, and there was another fellow on their team that got one as well.
That's pretty cool. That's like a thing that your fan would ask us for a signature on, right?
Mm-hmm. Jimmy Mullis also got his in the mail. They were both really excited. And then in the same thread, Ray, or I'm sorry, not Ray. Malik Ray posted that he's now sponsored by Sim Seats, as well as the racetrack. They flew him down to Daytona. They took him to the race at Richmond. He's got a whole new rig. They're building him a rig. He's got a whole new computer system and 3 curved monitors. So the Peak guys are definitely getting support from the guys that have drafted him now.
Seems like it, to some degree or another, right? Pretty cool. I think I want a sponsor. All right, I got the next one, Beta UI. This is kind of a neat little tidbit I found from Nicholas Bailey from the staff. He says part of the problem with the performance of the Beta UI was that a lot of the data processing is done on the client side, so that means the driver's computer, and the tool we were using to do that was not up to the task. So we are changing that tool and also moving most, if not all, of the session processing back to the server side. So that's really good, guys. That's a fundamental shift or change in how the Beta UI is designed, like literally from the ground up. And that's what we've been waiting for forever, is for them to announce something like this, because what they've developed is this garbage. It's just, I mean, because it's all dependent on the computer that you're running it on, and it's very intensive on that computer, and if you don't have a proper computer, it's going to be bogged down and slow. And then they also admitted that the tool that they use inside of that obviously was not up to the task, and so there's no fixing it. So they've finally realized, look, we got to do it a different way. We got to process this on our side and just let them view it, you know, kind of like a website. Duh. Stick to the website.
So if it's not broken, don't fix it, right?
Right. And like
Well,
we've talked about before, I mean, we already know that it's an HTML5 kind of coding, and they can show it in an executable. It doesn't need to be in a browser, but they need to process it on the server side so there isn't these delays and slowdowns and all this other crap.
the part that I think they considered broke is that they couldn't do the secure service through the website.
Right.
Which is a pretty big issue, you know.
Is it?
But
I mean, what are we
It
trying
means
to secure?
anybody can trace your password when
Yeah,
you
your
log in.
password, your credit card, all that information, your address. I mean, that's all.
But all
on there.
that is under, no, that's under HTTPS. If you look closely, if you log into those areas, you'll see it change the website. It goes from HTTP to HTTPS. So in reality, the website that we're using to launch the races, sure, they can see what race I'm joining. Okay.
But the fear is that password, though.
The password's still secure. I don't think that's really it. But Greg, let's talk to the next one. Porsche Esports Super Cup.
Well, it looks like Martin Kroenke swept the weekend at Mid-Ohio, cruising away from the field in the sprint race, held off an intense pressure from his both Jared Fissell and teammate Josh Rogers in the feature to score the first event, and then swept it in the second event after qualifying 8th. And I guess they inverted the field, or he converted from an 8-car inversion of the sprint race grid and dominated the weekend. Led all 33 laps and of both races. So Kroenke took home another extra $1,000 bonus money, and he's now jumped to 3rd in the championship points. So looks like he's had a good race there. It looks like was it him that posted it? iRacing posted the battle that he was having that they had. It looked like a pretty good battle.
Oh yeah, that's an amazing battle. I definitely suggest watching that video. Josh Rogers was all over him like glue, and he was flashing his lights at him like, get out of the way, get out of the way. But no, he didn't budge. The other thing I'll say is, just a week or two ago on this show, I said, where is Martin Kroenke? Why aren't we seeing this guy? And guess what? He heard me, and he wins. I love it.
And that's not an easy track to stay in front of somebody. There's a lot of big breaking points, and then you have that long run down to the one major breaking point. So if he's able to keep him out from that battle, it's a really good job.
Now, they did a remix video, Alexander Horn, of course, who's legendary for these things. It was a good watch. I would definitely watched it, and it's interesting the quality of road racing that we're seeing here. When he was first battling that other guy, I forget his name, they were side by side for almost an entire lap, doing some amazing racing. The guy eventually spun off that he was racing and kind of got off to one side, and Martin kept the lead. All right, next up, Tony Groves, Nürburgring Incident Limit.
Yeah, this one kind of confuses me a little bit here. On our show notes, it says the incident limit's at 200, but according to the forums,
It says
they're
240.
at 240. So has there been an increase or a decrease, or do we got the scoop on this decrease?
I don't know.
What's going on? Anyways, there's at least 200 incident points. I don't know.
That's a lot.
Wasn't there a discrepancy at Daytona as well?
Well, the post has been edited only 8 different times, so who knows?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I swear when I looked at it earlier in the week, it was 200. That's why I wrote it there, but I could have been mistaken.
No, they could have probably changed it after you wrote it. That's all.
Well, this is
The last update was 29th at about 11:30 in the morning, so that was Monday. So, yeah.
that's all. I mean, 240 incidents is what wasn't that Daytona? Was that what we had at Daytona? What was the amount at Daytona? I can't remember now.
Worried about Le Mans myself.
But that's
It won't be a big deal at Le Mans because you don't really pick up incident points at Le Mans. You pick up slowdowns.
Oh.
yeah, they have a lot of runouts, but that's a 16.1 mile an hour or mile track. You got 240 incidents for 24 hours. That's a lot of corners and stuff too.
A lot of corners to memorize. I've never really taken the time to learn that track. What all this incident limit talk comes from is, well, 2 places. The bus stop at Daytona, because you could get faster laps by cutting that constantly without getting a slowdown if you did it just right. And Spa, you could just rack up X after X after X to get faster times, not get a slowdown. And a lot of people were just infuriated with how people were going ahead and abusing it and not being too worried about their safety rating for that one race.
Yeah, Spa.
So-
I've heard that before.
So they came up with the incident limit for there. At Daytona, we had the incident limit, and I don't think we came anywhere close to worrying about
I
it.
think we were half of it or something.
Wasn't there one team that got disqualified for that whole thing?
Yeah, it was like 1 or 2. Yeah.
Somebody got disqualified in our race, but I think it's because they didn't observe a black flag.
All right, so we're not running Nürburgring, but we're going to plan for Le Mans.
1 month away.
Yeah. I need to run some laps there tonight. Maybe I'll do that as a
Yeah.
late night activity.
I preach and I preach. If you can run a race, you learn so much more in one of those
Well, what
1 hour
car
races.
are we running, David?
At least one team's going to be running the Porsche 919 because that's the one we've been focused on for the season. That's the one
The LMP one.
Yeah.
Is that car capable for the overall?
Yes, that's the LMP
Yes,
one.
But get some laps on it.
I need to buy it. I don't even have it. Okay, let's keep moving. Mason, week 8 super session.
Yep, we got our super session this week. It's the Dirt Legends at Kokomo.
$500 up for grabs.
That's right. Put your dirt shoes on and get on out there.
If I didn't work Saturdays, I would be all over this.
Remember, it's the top 30 in points for the week, not top 30 overall.
Right, so you just got to do a couple runs in the middle of the week in this series, and then you're eligible to perhaps get in that Saturday race where all that money is up for grabs.
It's probably based off of like strength of fields, right, for points.
Well,
Like it normally
just
is.
like any other series, yeah. So, all right, let's keep moving. Brent, why are multiple accounts allowed?
Yeah, I'm surprised we keep on talking about this because this issue has come up probably a bunch of times in the past year that I've been doing this, and I'm surprised people still have questions about this. iRacing, the question is on the forums, why are multiple accounts allowed for one individual? They consider it cheating, because you can get suspended for using a friend's account, you can get suspended for letting them use your account, and so forth. So the question is, why are people allowed to have a secondary account? And we're never going to get an answer out of iRacing. I don't think that's ever going to happen. There's several people that chimed in on this, and the most common one, given my opinion, is that it boils down to money. iRacing is getting money from those secondary accounts, and there's also multiple people had mentioned that it comes time to individuals who want to practice on a different account and then race on their primary one, or vice versa. And then there's different sets that people use for different accounts. So again, this issue keeps on coming up, or this conversation keeps on coming up. Sooner or later, it is what it is, people.
Well, it is about money, but I think it's more about, in my opinion, um, it's an automated system and nobody's screening this. For example, in this thread, somebody points out that Malik Ray, the peak driver, has two accounts, and they show him in the points with both in the same truck points division with both of his accounts. He's P1 in points, and he's also P158 in points. His second account is Malik O Press. And so, what's to stop Malik Ray from logging into iRacing and hitting new account and signing up as a Malik O Ray or whatever name he made up, O Press, and nothing's stopping him from doing that. They'll take his money. It's all automated. You got to remember, there's not an iRacing staff member taking his credit card and saying, "Okay, what's your first and last name? Oh, you already have an account." No, the computer doesn't see all that stuff. They just see it as a different person, and so nobody even sees it happening.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what how many individuals have secondary accounts. I know there's a lot out there. Of the 80,000 plus members on iRacing, how many of those are secondary accounts? And
Single digits.
what
Yeah,
if
percentage.
anything, would iRacing even do? They're not gonna say, well, you can't have a second account, because then they're losing those hundreds of dollars a year.
Well, but
Think about the time staff would have to take to figure it out. Okay, we got to go figure out this guy's IP address, go onto this guy's IP address, and then cross-reference them, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I think another thing you need to, sorry, David, just one more point here, and then you can go. Another thing people need to, I think, take into consideration is what difference does it really matter? They're treated like a second person, whether it's one individual and they're in the top 100 of both accounts. What difference does that really matter to you, who's trying to do the best that they can? My advice to you would be to go out and beat both of those accounts.
There's two reasons that I could think of that you might want to do this. One, it allows some of these guys with the crazy high I ratings to go jump down and run some fun races down in the lower series without being overly obsessed with the damage that might happen to their I rating if they're racing in a race with somebody who has an 800 I rating. Number two, there's some streamers that actually use the second account so that they can stream TV coverage rather than just first-person view.
And that is a real legitimate reason for a second account is the streamer thing. But in this case, like with Malik Ray, he's actually racing in the same series under both accounts, and that's a little bit different. But like Brent said, what difference does it matter? Let's go beat him.
It's more money for iRacing.
Not even just that. Time and jet skis, number 1 and number 2, right? With his two accounts.
Yeah, he's got two accounts.
I mean, it means that the iRacing can make more money, and so I don't see why it would really bother anybody.
Is it just a fake outrage crowd?
No, outrage is the currency of the day.
That's right. It's 2019. All right, Chris, World of Outlaws.
Chase Cabre and Swindell Speed Labs dominated the World Outlaws NOS Energy Sprint Car Race 6 at Kokomo. Other notables, Tim Ryan didn't even make the feature.
What?
And Alex Bergeron only led one lap.
What? Chase Cabre, yeah, I watched this. It was an interesting race. Chase was on it.
And Drew Adamson stuck up that rewind. That rewind's only 3 minutes, and it kind of covers like the best 3 minutes of what was an awesome race. But yeah, Cabre just kind of stuck it to that Larson line out there by the wall and just whooped him, man.
Yeah, I've raced Chase Cabre in NIS probably 4 years ago. But yeah, he's kicking butt over there in dirt. All right, I got the next one. Eyeballs on the U.S. Evan Pasacco. He's the peak announcer guy. He posted on Twitter what the broadcast viewership was for the peak race at Talent. It was 173,000 views on NASCAR's Facebook page, with the final replay upload amounting to an additional 143,000 views on its own. Wow, 350,000 views sort of right there, guys. That's significant.
I'd like to see how that compares to a lot of Netflix series.
How does that compare to a regular NASCAR broadcast? It's not much less, to tell you the truth.
Radio
Well-
broadcasts reach the millions.
But if you think about it, that's more views than the people that attend multiple races from NASCAR. Like
Right.
that's lots of for something that is still in its infancy to the broadcasting point where they're now trying to do this. That's a really good number to hit pretty quickly.
It is. It's doing well. I mean, if you think about the viewership and attendance for NASCAR events, the only sport that does better is the NFL.
Yeah, so like if NASCAR put up like a race rewind or a highlights of their Talladega race on a Monday morning, how many views does something like that get? And does it match up?
I don't think, with the broadcasting rights, they don't post any of that stuff. You can't really find, unless you recorded it yourself, you can't go back and do it, right? You can watch highlights, but you can't watch a full race, go back and watch a full race like this is.
You can on YouTube,
Yeah.
I think.
Well, they also do a replay early in the morning. They have a full replay, and I don't remember if it's Fox or NBC. They actually have it recapped within an hour. They'll do the actual Cup race compressed down into an hour on like early Monday morning, like 3 a.m.
Must be nice being in the States when you guys get extra stuff like that. In Canada, you get it one playthrough and you're lucky to not have it taken out by something else.
I think another thing that comes into play of this is ease of access, right? You look at everybody almost has, the phone with internet on them, so you can jump on there and take a look. I know several people that don't have a television, that don't have cable anymore, but they have internet. So I think ease of access plays into this.
Yeah, and everybody's on Facebook and on your phone, and so yeah, it's easy to watch racing. I was showing it off at work. I was showing David's stream the other day to some of my new coworkers, and they were like, "Wow, what is this? That looks like it's real racing. That's a game."
Now my question is too, how does some of these being sponsored by Peak or by NASCAR companies and actually putting their sponsors on those cars draw people to it too? Like when they see the Interstate Batteries 18 car, right? Or the Wood Brothers 21.
Yeah, I think it helps. Yeah, it's big. Everything that's happened this year with Peak, the viewership is really gone up. Now, I did ask Evan in Twitter, how does it compare to past broadcasts? But he never did respond. So I was kind of curious how much higher they're up, but I really don't have an answer yet.
It may be early to start talking history, but I think this is a benchmark year
It must be.
for the sport.
Well, they probably never had 173,000 views in total for a whole season, probably, on the way that it was broadcasted before.
And that Talladega race was just awesome. It really was. All right, let's keep moving. Brent, 16 paved ovals.
Yeah, Nick Nevin went and posted he created a list. This is just his personal opinion on this list, so this is nothing official from NASCAR or iRacing about tracks that he wish would be scanned into iRacing or are completely missing. Just for
Or
the
updated.
oval side of things, he's got Texas, Texas, Kentucky, Phoenix. He's got Memphis International Raceway in there. He also included some tracks from the ARCA series in the K&N East and West. So, for example, Nashville's Fairgrounds, Kern County Raceway. So he also likes the Pikes Peak International. He broke this down pretty nice. So if you guys want to take a look, it's kind of hard to explain over here through the podcast, but he's got several different breakdowns of tracks that he would like from different parts of the country. He's also got some road racing thoughts in there. So again, Nick
All
Nevin,
F1s.
thank you. Yep, take a look at that.
He's basically made a list of what's missing out of the major racing series in the world. Which tracks are we missing? And he made basically a comprehensive list. So there's your roadmap, iRacing.
Unfortunately, Memphis isn't being visited by NASCAR anymore. I've heard rumors they might be trying to take the trucks back there. I wish they would. That's the closest track for me.
Nashville's getting torn down, I heard. They'll put in garages or buildings or something.
They have a real problem in the Nashville community with noise complaints.
All right. Mason, car updates.
Yeah, we got some information on the new NASCAR content that's coming in the June build. the Cup car, the Mustang, is going to be in the June build, and the updated Silverado will also be in the June build. However, not the Xfinity car, updated Camaro, or the Supra. Those will not be in. But the Mustang and Silverado are coming. There's no official news as far as if you bought the Fusion within the last year and a half and you get the Mustang for free like they did with the Camaro, but will be clarified closer to the build.
My question is normally they post something more than this beforehand, and all of a sudden it's just now just coming out just as a text, like in the forums. Usually they post I was at there, there was no hint of them scanning it or anything like that.
Oh, nothing. Yes, this is kind of one of those little tidbits that kind of came under the radar.
Someone said they're always asking about the F-150. Why don't we have the F-150 in the truck series? Someone said we will get blowing flags first, probably right after we get people walking around the stands.
Oh God, Mason, let it go.
So the Ford Mustang, I imagine when it comes out in June, and of course they'll have the new package. Will they revert the Ford Fusion back to the 2018 rule package and retire the car? Or will you be able to run the Fusion or the Mustang throughout the rest of the year?
They'll have to make it retire it. They'll have to, because I think they said that they were waiting, it was going to be reverted back as soon as the updated Mustang came out, and something when they first brought the package out last time.
Right. All right, David, we got a post from Noah.
Noah Gragson threw up a hosted race for the Xfinity Series, announced it on his Twitter, and then pointed out, I guess, Twitch, you can do donations, right?
Supposedly.
Yes.
Okay, he put down highest donor wins his helmet, and so he put out he's basically, I guess, auctioning off his helmet as he was running a hosted race at Dover. Pretty neat.
So I wonder who won it.
There's no update after that.
I see one post, just one reply. Somebody says I donate 10, and then that's it. That's all that's on the thread.
Yeah, there's nothing on his Twitter.
For 10.
That would be funny if he did.
Yeah, I saw that. I was at work, and I was thinking, boy, I'd be jumping on that if I had time. Maybe check it out, maybe get a deal for a helmet.
Well, it looks like from on his Twitter, anything that was close to it said, thanks for everyone who was watching Twitch tonight. Next Wednesday, I'm going to be doing a lot more giveaways for the top 3. Be ready. Thanks. Thank you all. You guys are the best.
Oh, he's doing it again. So what day?
Well, this was posted 20 hours ago, so it's next Wednesday.
Aha, so there you go. Look for Noah Gragson on Twitter and go race with him. All right, let's keep moving. Brent, FALS.
Yeah, update here from the dirt oval side of things as far as tracks. New tracks coming. Fairbury American Legion Speedway, located in central Illinois, home of the Prairie Dirt Classic, will not be in the June build, but it looks promising for September, and this is coming from Tyler Hudson. So for you dirt racers out there looking for a new oval track, I'm reading several individuals' posts on this forum post here saying that they hope it gets added to the Pro Series. Doing a brief look at it, it looks like a pretty decent track, small, possibly quarter mile of a track, so definitely interesting. It's good to see new track coming to iRacing again, and especially with this dirt stuff taking off as well as it is.
Okay, cool. Another track coming, but September. Mason, sponsorship.
Yeah, this is a cool little tweet put up by Michael Conti. It says, excited to share that I'll be representing Dale Jr., Blake Cook Racing, and everyone at Filter Time. If you've listened to the Dale Jr. download, the Dale Jr. is partnered with Blake Cook, former Xfinity driver, for a new product called Filter Time. Michael Conti says, show your support for the companies who support esports by signing up for Filter Time today. Everyone needs clean air on and off the track. So, sharp looking little number 8 car here. Got some blue and white with gray stripes up the side, kind of like in marking fashion. Got Dirty Mo Media on there. So, very cool.
That's a really nice paint job for it. That'll be interesting to see it on the track.
What's neat about this is we've seen this happen throughout the year where we get real sponsors come onto these peak cars that are associated with the teams, okay? And so like JR Motorsports, you know, we all knew Dale started this business with Blake Cock, and basically, you know, they're just using it as another vehicle to promote the business, you know, and I think it's getting to a point where these teams are going to be at a disadvantage if they don't have a peak team to be able to promote their sponsors and their partners and their businesses, you know?
On the social media aspect of, you know, like even look at this, like he's broadcasting it out on his Twitter page, and you know, that's where everything's coming from now is, you know, social media. And you know, technically it's I don't know if there's any benefit to Mike Conti with this besides having a painted car, but it's, you know, a good billboard for that company, even though he might not have a benefit of having it on the car for Conti.
Well, it's just the opportunity of eyeballs to learn about the brand, and you know, because of all the Dale Jr.'s fans, because of the Dale Jr. download, because of, like you said, Twitter and everything else, there's just so many people are becoming more aware of it.
I'm sure Dale Jr. would have promoted the iRacing this week, but he never got a chance to talk on his podcast.
On the John
Wait,
Force
Dale had a
download.
podcast this weekend?
I think we all had fun with
I thought it
listening to
didn't
John
get
Force.
uploaded.
All right, next up, a shout out from a listener we got from Nicholas Williams 4. He said, hey, recently found you guys' podcast on Spotify, and it's great. I listened to the most recent episode and then went back and started at the first one. Some great content in there. I just started on iRacing at the end of March, and you and your guests on the podcast have helped shape my thoughts going into and throughout the races I've done so far. Hope you and your team keep it up. See you on the track when I get to A soon. Well, thanks, Nicholas, for the shout out, and I'm glad you found us on Spotify. What I wanted to point out to our listeners is Nick went back and listening to our old podcasts, and boy, we have a ton of them, guys, that go back, more than 4 years now.
174 episodes with this one tonight.
There you go. So, like you said, it's still relevant. All that content is relevant today. So check it out if you're interested, if you have time. I encourage you to go to those back episodes and check them out. They're all out there, so go for it. And now for the final story, Bill's Pit Stop.
User in your channel stopped recording. User in your channel started recording.
All right, thanks, Bill. Let's get into hardware. Chris, DIY motion platform.
Yeah, a open source motion platform from OpenSFX.com. 4 actuator setup. I wish I dug around and tried to find an actual price of what it would cost to buy all this stuff. Couldn't find that, but man,
I think I found it. I didn't post it, but I was reading about this. I heard $2,000 for the parts, but for everything else you might need, it might be a total of $2,500 for the whole project.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I mean, and I'm sure some of that price could depend on if you have a 3D printer. I think some of these parts will be 3D printed out, so if you don't, you might have to buy some of that stuff. But it looks like it operates really good. I mean, just as good as any D-Box I've seen. I mean, it has a good motion, quick motion. Looked really good. The only thing I saw that kind of was a red flag for me, it said it was a 240 volt. Does that mean, for us in the U.S., do you have to have an electrician come out and put a special wall jack in for this thing?
No, there's a step-down box. I think they said it was $120 or a step-up box that you can use. So you have to get one of those. But you're right. This is very comparable to D-Box, and it's a fraction of the price, literally. And I don't have the thread. I wish I would have saved it. But one driver was talking about, he went to his local college where they had a 3D printer, and they printed everything up for really cheap, for just a few dollars for him. So part of this is you have to buy the motors, but you have to 3D print all the little pieces that you need to put everything together. So it really is a DIY project.
Somebody needs to get this guy a thing on wire management.
So the website is opensfx.com. And there's some videos there, and like you said, you need some wire management. But boy, it looks like a D-box setup, but it's homemade. Pretty cool. All right, David. Xtal is the king of the VR.
It carries the price tag of the king as well at $54.62 US. It's steep, but it's a beast. There's a 20-minute YouTube video here that you can watch that just goes into all kinds of detail. Some of the highlights include that this guy that's reviewing it believes it has a sharper field of view across the entire field. He says there's no screen door effect, and it features better panel utilization, which means you don't have to magnify as much, giving you a higher active resolution. It's a beast. I watched different parts of the video, but if you want to spend $5,000 on just VR, this might be the one you want to go with.
Go to 1030 in the video, and you'll see a picture of it sitting on the seat. The thing is huge.
Yeah, if I want to get bigger neck muscles, I might just try wearing it.
And the quality in this video that you see is outstanding. Now, I don't know if that's how it looks or if that's some kind of trick, but it looks really sharp.
It gives you, I think, 170, 180 degrees FOV too. So this will give you that resolution, or the FOV similar to triples if you have $5,500 to blow on it.
Yeah, we've talked about this before on the show, but the reason we brought it back is because of this video. We got a new video out by this guy who did a nice test of it. But 5,462, go get it. The website to get it at is vrgineers.com. All right, David, Podium Direct Drive. Tell us what you got.
Well, mine came in. It came in on the day it was supposed to ship. It actually got delivered. I was pretty excited. We have a link that you actually hunted down that has some recommended settings. I looked through some of them, and most of them are pretty close to the Fanatec recommended settings. In both cases, it kind of blows my mind that they actually think you should run the force feedback at 100. I guess on a car that doesn't have power steering, that will be realistic. But I tried to do it on the Ferrari right at the beginning, and it really is like driving a car without power steering. It is insanely powerful. So I'm running right now. I haven't tweaked it for my LMP, but I'm running for my Ferrari and my oval car. I'm running it all the way down to 45 on the force feedback percentage on my wheel setting. I want to set it on the wheel and leave it the same in game, and that feels pretty realistic. It's early. I still have some tweaking to do. I'm going to keep reading and seeing what I can do to get rid of feelings or certain things. I liked the way it felt at Dover last night. I could feel it bottoming out. I didn't really have too many problems getting loose, but when I did get loose, it seemed pretty easy to recover. My first impression, and it's still really early, is that the dynamic contrast, the difference between when the force is being applied and when it's not, is humongous. To use a musician analogy, it has a huger piano or a smaller piano and a larger forte, and so I'm impressed so far. The only thing I don't like so far on my desk is it's at a different angle, and I had to use a little bit of creative engineering to get it up high enough to where it's comfortable, but it still sits flat instead of at the angle that the CSL base had. So I'm getting more tempted towards getting an actual rig as well.
Okay, and so mounting went well, and is it solid, or you have any problems with that?
No, it holds, and the strength is amazing. Another interesting thing is it stays warm if you leave it on, even when it's not running. So I'm making a habit of turning it off at night.
Did
Now,
you
do
not?
you have the switch?
No, I don't have a kill switch on it. I just reach around for the power in the back. But I don't have a rig, so if it starts just spinning on me, all I have to do is scoot my rolly chair back and go unplug it.
I was gonna say, Did you not turn your CSL off when you were at your old wheel?
No, I never noticed it really being warm.
I don't turn off my G27. There's not a switch.
Really? That's interesting. You guys leave power to it all the time.
Yeah.
There's there's interesting theories about that, even with computers. That some people say that you increase your wear and tear if you leave it on all the time. Some people say that when you're turning it on and off, the power cycle is actually harder on the hardware than if you just leave it on a sustained on all the time.
I think with these DD wheels, you need to turn them off when you're not using them. That's
Well,
my understanding.
it stayed warm enough that I'm going to be powering at least the wheel down.
All right, and then Brent, you've got an email about a price increase.
Yeah, Fanatec. I got an email today from their.
Everybody that's bought something from them did.
Yeah. So apparently they're raising their prices on the equipment. It has to do with the motor between the DD1 and DD2. I don't have it pulled up right now, so I can't tell you the prices, but I think
It's
about $400 more for something.
One or $11.99.95 US for the DD1, and $15.99.95 US for the DD2.
It's 200 on the one and 100 on the two, but an increased warranty. Basically, it comes down to the very reason they ended up having to back order the things for 4 months. There was a problem that they just couldn't fix with the DD1 drive, so they were basically using a specced down DD2 drive now, and and they've just decided to go ahead and keep that, and that's making their costs a little bit higher, and so they've had to bring the cost up. So if you get your order in before May 7th, you can beat the cost increase, which means I did get my DD1 at the reduced price, and also got a free rim out of it. And I probably never would have gotten it, but I love having this F1 wheel now when I'm running in the sports cars.
Now,
It all worked out really well for me in the long run. I
There-
had to wait a long time.
there is another part of that too, that they say that they could be possibly changing the motor of the DD1 down the road.
So you got a good deal, David, by buying early, because you got the $1,000 base and you got a free wheel to go with it. So now the base is $1,200, and you would still have to buy the wheel.
He's easily got like $1,700 worth of product, or $1,500 worth of products sitting in
So-
front of him.
If I go buy a DD1, can I get a NASCAR oval wheel for it, or what?
You can.
Yeah.
For me, when I'm running ovals, I use the Porsche rim because then I really don't need a button box. It has enough buttons on it that I can get away without a button box.
Mike, they have an oval rim that's just like I think it's 1 inch. I think it's 1 inch smaller than the Max Papis, or not the Max Papis. What's the ones that are MPIs?
That's Max Papis.
Yeah, Max Papis rims. I think it's 1 inch smaller, but they have that
Porsche is
as
really
well.
good, but it's smaller, and it's the same rim that Matt Malone uses. He and I are using that one for the ovals.
See, I want to buy a wheel, but I was planning on buying it in a month or two, not now. And if I buy it before May 7th, I could save me about $200. But I'm not ready to do it this month.
Well,
so
if you're
I
thinking
think-
the DD2, it's only $100.
I don't know.
That's a pretty steep price tag,
It is. That's
especially if
a
you're.
lot of money.
It's one thing, Mike, if you're already in the Fanatec family, but if you're starting from scratch, that's when it becomes more expensive.
Yeah, at this point, I'm actually going to wait. I'm kind of hoping AccuForce comes out with a V3, and that would really just be tempting. Or maybe I'll look at the Sim Cube too more. That seems to be a popular choice too.
The other thing might be is maybe by Christmas time, everything might level out, and maybe they'll have a deal on it.
Black Friday. All right, let's keep moving. A quick quote about the GS5 motion seat that I'm in love with, which is $3,000. This guy said, I'd put the GS5 almost in a separate category versus other motion rigs. It's not that it moves you, it's that it presses against you in very precise ways. And so it's kind of a neat sentence that kind of elaborates that, hey, it's not moving you around like a motion rig. it's pushing against your back and thigh, and that's not really motion. That's kind of a different sensation. So you got to kind of be careful when you talk about the seat and throwing it in with other motion rigs. It's not apples to apples.
You could almost chalk this one up to like a haptic feedback seat.
Right. Like,
It's what I
remember
would
that
be
little
more interested
pad?
in getting.
Remember that little pad, Tony, that had the speakers in it we thought was pretty lame?
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Yeah, but this one actually has stuff like, literally pushing you and stuff. But
Is this the
Put
one that
on
has
steroids.
the four pads and it can basically do 6 degrees of motion? Yeah, I'm interested in that seat, even though I don't think I'll get the rig. I don't know.
All right, let's keep moving. Tony Groves Dash and Button Box.
yeah, this comes from OpenSimRacing.com. They are offering some high quality carbon fiber custom dash and button boxes.
That's really nice.
Currently, they're making Porsche and Ferrari center dash replicas. I am really the wrong guy to read these ones.
You sound excited.
Just because you're making your own doesn't mean people can't buy ones that are pre-made for them.
Well, absolutely. If you got $500-$600 you want to drop on this, all the power to you. I find them a little steep. But there again, like I am not a road guy, so these don't appeal to me whatsoever. So that's why I said I'm the worst guy to talk about them. Aesthetically, like they look beautiful. Like they look like they're well made. The various ones that they've got, they've got all the options. But it's I still think the price is kind of high for a button box. I know it's going after a certain look, so maybe that's what.
Yeah, it's a replica kind of look.
Yeah, I'm not sure why you would need it if you have something like this F1 wheel, because I have buttons I'm not even using on it to assign to everything.
I think
this is more I think these are more targeted towards people that are going with the full dash, just through looking at them and stuff and the flush mounts on them. Looking at the back of them, there's not really a whole good way to mount them. If you were to do ram mounts or something.
Any F1 car or I think I didn't hit my button. Everything's on the wheel in an F1 car or an Indy car.
Yeah, this is a Ferrari.
Yeah, these aren't
Porsche.
for IndyCar. These are for Ferrari and Porsches. So
it's just interesting. Like that's like you can get a full dash from Derek Spears Designs for a third of that price. Like it's that I think you're paying more for the person picking the cars that they're trying to make the replica dashes from more than what the actual box is really worth. Like you're paying for like the car it's supposed to replicate.
Well, let's. Textured black carbon composite. I don't know if that's real carbon fiber or not, but if it's real carbon fiber, that's worth a pretty penny. The dials and switches look very, they're it's quality stuff. Yeah, you're gonna pay a premium because it's built for a specific car for a specific look. But from everything that I can see and understand from this, like they look nice and they seem to be very well built. But I'm a cheapskate. I don't like the price, so they suck.
Well, we haven't seen any functionality on them yet. It'd be nice to see a YouTube video or something see how they work. I'm sure there's some little nuances in them.
Yeah, that's OpenSimRacing.com. We've talked about them before. We've talked about their cockpits. They have some great looking cockpits. But these button boxes are a new offering, so check those out. Chris, Acer VR.
Acer has a new Ojo headset coming out. They haven't announced. There's no release date, no price yet, but man, it looks like another nice VR headset. It's going to be 4K. With like dual 2160 by 2160 LCD panels. It's going to have IPD adjustment, and that I believe, Mike, is so. Some headsets, including the Rift, they have a little dial that's built into them that can adjust how far the lenses are apart from each other, and that's to keep everybody's eyes are different widths apart, and so that is, I believe, the fix that iRacing just added is kind of an adjustment that fixes that for the headsets that don't have that little dial. But like I said, this one does have that, and also built-in sound pipe technology. The audio will emanate from an opening in the strap near the ears. So yeah, sounds good. They're guessing between about $500 to $1,000 price tag. So this is going to be, a higher end, but not one of the ridiculous $5,000 headsets like we looked at earlier.
This is a spin-off or a carbon copy or whatever of the HP Reverb, which uses the same LCD panels, except the HP Reverb that we've talked about before doesn't have that IPD that you're talking about for the inner pupillary distance. And then this Acer model does, and that's the key difference, and that's the way I understand it, is if you need that, the Acer's the way to go. If you don't, the HP Reverb is the way to go.
Yeah, it's a big deal, and I don't know how you would even really tell if it was something you needed or not until you strap the thing on your head. So I think if I was buying a headset, I would just want to make sure that was built into it so I wouldn't have to mess with it.
About the only way you could is if they had one in a store that you could actually throw on your head.
All right, no release date for that yet. All right, next, Brad Keselowski spotter pack.
Yeah, Blade Wit has released a spotter pack for Brad Keselowski, his spotter, and crew chief at himself. I have not tested this out yet. I actually just downloaded it about 20 minutes ago. I'm going to give it a try tonight in NAS Fixed Race. Have any of you guys had a chance to try this brand new spotter pack out?
I haven't. No.
I hate Brad.
Well, is it Joey Meyer, who's no longer with Brad, or is it Brad's new spotter?
We're about to find out later tonight. I'll let you guys know. So
Because
yeah,
I love Joey Meyer. Joey Meyer's awesome.
yeah, check out next week, and I will have a full review for you guys.
All right. So it's a Dropbox, and I don't know how to tell the listeners to find it except go to our show notes.
Yeah, if you go to the show notes, there's it pulls up the Dropbox screen, and there's a download button in the upper right-hand corner. So pretty simple.
Yeah, he doesn't have it like posted anywhere like besides Dropbox. So, all right, let's keep moving. Greg, the Fanatec Club Sport F1 2019 Limited Edition.
So on Fanatec's official Instagram page, they had posted a video a video showing their new designed wheel. It's basically the same version of the same rim that they've been putting out in different colors, but they have it in the dark, I guess you call it dark gray or silverish color. It actually looks really nice. Actually, I think that is probably one of the better colored ones that I like. But they're also advertising it. If you buy this rim, you get F1 2019 for $1. So you can have that from Steam or PlayStation 4 with this.
Don't forget it has that logo there in the middle, the F1 logo. It's on there.
Oh,
So
they had to pay for that, I bet.
Oh, I'm sure that was probably really expensive. This wheel retails for $349.95 US.
I mean, that is a sharp-looking wheel.
Yeah.
So Mike, you're gonna get this one so you can get F1 2019 for $1? Well,
Nah.
€1.
I'm seriously
interested in
contemplating
that. Yeah, I want an oval wheel. I don't need a road wheel. If I race roto, it'll be with the oval wheel. So. All right, let's sneak in one more here. Chris, iRacing Spotlight VS.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. So this is a Facebook post. Excuse me. They're announcing their new flagship retail project, the iRacing Spotlight VS. It's basically a light that you can attach to your monitors that will light up when a car is inside or outside of you. So this is a way to have that visual indicator when a car is, on your six, basically. This is really cool. Another thing I didn't look at long enough to find the price for this thing, but man, if I was running any kind of monitor, I would have to have this.
That's like they have in cars nowadays when you got it on your mirrors in your car. You're just summoning your blind side, right? Blind spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it stays on the whole time the car is there too. So yeah, it's great, man. I think you're at a disadvantage to somebody that's using this if you're not, especially someplace say like Daytona or Talladega.
Two
Now, for
two
the
green
audience,
lights on at a time.
I want to describe what this looks like in the video. So he's got one monitor, and on each side of it are like LED strips where there's lights at the top left, along the left side, and along the right. So there's lights on the top and the bottom. And then as he's racing and he gets beside somebody, those lights will light up on the top left and the bottom left if there's somebody to the inside. And so he can tell by the lights if he's clear or not. It's kind of neat.
Just an FYI, Sim Racing Apps has a little widget that does kind of the same thing.
But these are on the outside of your screen.
Yeah.
If you go to Midwest Simulations on Facebook, so you search Midwest Simulations, that's their kind of website, and they have a link for SquareUp.com that sends you to the shop to purchase. And without all the cables, it's 40. With all the cables, it's 50.
It's actually a pretty good value.
You getting these, Mike?
That's pretty cool. I'm definitely thinking about that.
I'm guessing it's USB driven. Yeah, it looks like it.
Yep. You have to set the sensitivity of what you want, though. You know what I mean? In iRacing, I would guess at least.
It's a USB mini cable.
I just saw that. Thanks, Tony.
Now this is something I can bite into. You see that price range? That's beautiful, and it's functional.
And it's a nice upgrade, right?
Yeah.
So I'm guessing, is it running off a software, or is it running just using the actual something for? Is it recognizing something from iRacing?
iRacing
it's
API.
API.
Yeah, the iRacing API is always telling all the apps whether somebody's on your outside or not. Just
Yeah.
like Crew Chief basically spots for me instead of the regular spotter.
Okay.
No,
Pretty neat
Tony,
idea.
you could make this with some Christmas lights.
Well, I would actually use some LED lighting if I could figure it out. Because unfortunately, these guys don't ship to Canada, so I am out ski. But man, that's pretty sweet. I like it.
You could almost, could you not like use these, like if you had, I guess if you had like a multicolored light, could you kind of use them for iFlag too, as the same thing? Like all of a sudden they'd start flashing for a caution or something.
That would be cool. All right,
This would be sorry, Mike, but this would be a great complement to the iFlag.
Right.
Absolutely.
I don't know if we mentioned this, but these work under caution, which your iRacing spotter does not.
He's eating ice cream. Let him be.
All right, we're running out of time. Let's get to results. Finish up Talladega Friday Open. Brent P2.
Yeah, led a good chunk of the race. Came down pit road, green flag pit stop, my second one, I think. And I just 10 miles an hour over. So came out about 15 seconds back, made up about, I don't know, 12 of those seconds, and I just ran out of laps. Could not get back up to the front with the guys.
All right, Tony Rochette got P31. Very early, running 6th and 2nd place. Blew his motor and wrecked most of the top 10. Stuck around and spotted for Brent. Mason, you wrecked out.
Yeah, I don't know how, but it was probably pointless.
Okay, and then Chris, P7.
Yeah, this is probably my best race of the week. This one hurt a little bit. I did all the right things in the last 4 laps and got into the lead, held the lead, and the only way I was going to lose that race was getting wrecked, and that's exactly what happened. Second place turned up into the guy on my outside and turned him down into me and wrecked all of us. But yeah, still came out with P7, so not a total loss.
All right, and then Greg, you crashed out early. Saturday, fixed afternoon, Tony Rochette also wrecked twice. A Sunday Open, Tony got a P19, got taken out of the lead with 7 to go by the outside front car when he was clipped by his pusher. Love tally, but ugh. And then Mason, P4.
Yeah, this was a good race. I kind of hung back because I didn't trust anyone up front.
And that paid off.
Yeah, as we kept going there, I got behind a couple guys I usually race with, and I was on the low line pushing P1, and someone else was on the high line pushing P2, and they just outdid me because I felt like I was gonna blow my engine. I was 285 on the oil temp coming out of turn 4, and I was like, well, I could blow it. I don't want to wreck the entire field, but P4.
All right, David, you got wrecked out early,
Dang.
and
I lost the Dega lottery, basically.
Sunday fixed. I got a P26. I was wrecked out in the first caution. I had a horrible, horrible Talladega week. Just bad, bad luck. Jesse, you ran with me that race. You got a P9.
Yeah, both the previous races of the week, I was caught up in messes, so I just stuck to the bottom, played it safe, and right at the end, there was just nowhere to go but to stay on the bottom. And I wanted to go high, even though I hadn't learned my lesson apparently, but they wrecked up high and I wasn't involved for once. So yeah, I take the top 10.
All right, Chris, you got another good run. P3, good race.
Yeah, it was almost really bad. I was racing for the lead. The leader pulled a real hard block on the outside, and I followed him back down to the bottom, and I spun across the third place guy's nose and sent myself to the back. And with only a couple laps to go, though, I restarted 13th and got all the way up to the third with Mason's help. He was spotting me that race, and it makes all the difference in the world having a live spotter tell you where to go.
Yeah, a tally, it really helps, doesn't it?
Yeah, so that was a ton of help, but yeah, good finish.
Yeah, they were just like a conveyor belt at the front. Just one person go to first, then they go high, and next one go to first. It just circle right around.
The trick is when you get to the front and you're in the top lane, don't go to the bottom. Just stay there in the second lane. All right, Tony Rochette at Dover. Okay, so let's move on to Dover. Wednesday fixed. I missed because my work schedule changed. Tony Rochette P18, he got totaled with 60 to go. Brent P21, emotions got the best of you.
Yeah, qualified P32. I should have qualified. But P21 wrecked early and DQ'd, raced with Tony that race. And we had a good race going. It's just it was a mess later on.
Dover. All right, Wednesday Open. David, P8.
Fairly clean, didn't have any X's. The set we were running was great long run. I would always lose a lot of spots in the first 5 laps, and then 10, 15 laps into the run, everybody would come back to me. Made an adjustment for the last 30 lap run that we had, and it paid off. It was a little faster on the short run and was able to get all the way up to P8.
Okay, and Greg, you wrecked out.
Wrecked myself.
That's even worse.
Yep, my luck. Well,
I see on there, Greg, you asked yourself, should you quit? Are you done or are you sticking around?
oh, I know. I'm just. If you noticed today, I was rethinking life in iRacing. I don't think I'm gonna quit. I just gotta change my focus somehow.
Just take a look at one of our other members' iRating, and you'll feel better about yourself.
I'm on my way down to him. I've lost 500 iRating in the last 4 weeks.
I've lost 600 since Richmond, so. All right, hang in there. Jesse, P7.
Yeah, it was a good run. I ran just outside of the top 10 the whole race, and like David had said, the set didn't fire off right away, but after a few laps, it rolled good for us. And running right there with Greg before his incident, hoping to get a good finish with him too, but me and Chris both had a really good run. Number 7, happy.
See, I think that was my problem. You guys were saying it wouldn't fire off the beginning. I was already making up positions on the beginning of that run with the same set, and then I wrecked myself.
Okay.
Right.
All right, moving on to Brent. You had what I call redemption. This time you qualified. Seemed to be the difference.
Yeah, definitely. So the set that I ran, I think I only put in a total of about 1 hour working on it, and that's a set that majority of us run. I think that Wednesday night qualified P1, finished P1, leading 146 laps. I tell you, these guys say it took off slow, and it did for about the first 7 to 10 laps. It wasn't the quickest out there, but after that, it would really start to run these guys down. And I learned after listening to these guys, I think the difference is you really got to manhandle this car, for lack of a better word, with this setup. So you can really throw it around and dive it down in there, and it seemed to work out, and it all came together towards the end for me.
So you're
Yeah, you
thinking
could-
with the new package, you need to be more aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, you got that extra downforce on there. So with that and the correct setup and the build, I think it really helps. And being able to throw it down into that corner and get that run off and still being able to hold on to it, it helped quite a bit. So it was interesting because at the end of this run, we had a long, about 67 green flag laps. I was about 4 laps away from having to pit. So to get that here at Dover was pretty fun.
Don't tell Greg to be more aggressive. He'll never finish a race again.
What did you call me earlier today, Chris? That pissed me off.
I don't remember.
Greg Rectus.
Yeah, last night.
Rectus.
Oh, it was last night. Yeah, that's right. I woke up to that message. That's right. That was the first thing I woke up to in the morning to read on our messenger page. Thank you for that.
As the listeners may hear, we are an extremely supportive team of each other.
Yes.
Well, good win. I mean, you are kicking ass this year. I mean, you have the most wins on the teams, obviously, in NIS.
Bottom split wins.
Oh, that's not true. That's not true with you, Greg. Come on now.
Supportive. Remember, we just said supportive.
I think, Brent, you've won a lot, but you probably have lost more. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, my problem is I got wrecked out of the lead twice, and then my issue is, and I am doing the complete opposite that Chris is doing. Chris is actually finishing these races and running these races out. I get wrecked and I get pissed off and I leave and go do 12-ounce curls with the Miller Lite in the fridge. So
that's what I did.
Okay, let's keep moving. Thursday Open, I ran my first race of the week at Dover, and P9. I got wrecked in the first lap crash before the start-finish line. So we're coming to the start, and the guy on the bottom, I think in fifth, spun his tires and took out the outer lane, including me. I had about 2 minutes damage. I got it fixed. It was okay, and we did have a pitting under green flag. I did pit, and then the caution came out right after I pitted. So I was like 3 laps down. I ended up getting a couple back with staying out for waiver rounds, and ended up P9. I'll take it. First top 10 in several weeks, so I'm real happy with that. Tony Rochette ran with me. He got a P6. He said he got sideswiped early after fixed, stayed in the top 10. He had many green flag runs in that race. In fact, Tony's race got done before mine. There were only 3 splits today. I was in the middle and he was in the bottom. All right, David, what's our intramural standings?
All right, for the podcast standings, Scales continues to lead the Open points at 311. He gained a little distance on me. I didn't have a great Talladega week. Then Stiver also closed his gap to me. I'm 26 points behind. Mason is 29 points behind. Then down in the fixed set, McCoy also holds on to about a half race lead, with Bill Hall sticking around about half a race behind at 26 points down, and Ellis kind of slipped a little at 44 points down.
It's a 4 wins for McCoy, man.
Yep.
All right, Chris, OBRL, what happened there?
I had a good race Monday night. We were at South Boston. It was a clean race, 1 caution on a short track. I finished 13th. I'm on probation in that series, so I was just trying to bring it home clean and did that with a 0X. And our Talladega race Sunday, man, what a fun race. Ended up 3rd, ran a bunch of laps, but there at the end, I made some bad moves and plus had a couple of teammates up above me that just blew my doors off. But what a lot of fun racing with those guys.
Hey, you better tell them if they don't take you off probation, I'll come down there and start running with them again.
There you go. Throw down.
Take me off right away.
All right, let's get into final thoughts. Brent McCoy.
Yeah, just good racing. Short and sweet for me.
All right, Chris Scales, final thought.
I want to welcome Jesse to the team. I raced with him a little bit before he joined, and great racer. Great guy. I'm sorry we'll probably ruin you here in Tifosi, but glad to have you, man.
All right, yes, we're very happy to have you. David Hall, final thought.
Well, I've already spoken about the new base. I'm excited. Still streaming. I've been busy this week. Had a lot of concerts. It's that time of the year for a band director.
He's only done 400 races instead of the 500.
How about one? That's really how many I've run this week. And I like to run an official race before the NIS race, because I feel like a race is better practice than practice. But I didn't get to do that, so I was probably playing last night at Dover pretty conservative too. I would like. I'm a little torn on the streaming. I like how easy it is to get the word out on Facebook, but it's hard to interact with people. There's no app that'll read them stuff to me, and I post a Discord link, but nobody's really popping on Discord to chat, and I just can't see. I can't find an easy way to see the comments on Facebook in VR and it not take up the entire screen. There's no way to pull that window pane out where it's by itself. So
All right.
I'm considering going to Twitch. I haven't decided yet.
Well, you heard him, Mark Zuckerberg. Get that fixed. All right, Greg Heckness, final thoughts.
Let's start another week. Let's try that. This is a start over, a do-over for me. Let's start over.
Yeah, NIS is a tough beast, and you'll have some down weeks for sure. So yeah, let's move on to the next week. All right, Mason Stiver, final thought.
Yeah, this has been a rough week for me. I was testing a lot on Sunday night and broke my Club Sport V2.5 wheelbase and P1 rim. So I've been in contact with Fanatec. I have to mail it back. I'm probably going to end up mailing it on Saturday morning. But one of the pins broke off in the rim. It broke off in the wheelbase, and I couldn't get it out there. So I'll be doing that this weekend. Thankfully, I have a Thrustmaster backup. I keep trying to sell it, but I guess I'm not going to.
It's a good thing you have a backup, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't sell it if I were you.
All right, Tony Groves, final thought. All right, we lost Tony. Jesse Gray, final thought.
Yeah, just thanks for the invitation to join the team. Glad to be here. Excited to get a first win with you guys, and hopefully we don't have a pace car go missing like me and Chris did at Road to Pro this week. I'd never want to experience that again.
Yikes. You had a pace car go away? Yikes.
40 laps with no pace car. Everybody just had to pace it out. It was interesting. 2 cars DQ'd in the middle of doing so we picked up a couple spots. But yeah, it was ugly.
All right. My final thoughts. Wow, we're getting a lot of traction on the podcast, a lot of activity. Our listener base is growing exponentially. Just like everything is going on with iRacing, everything is growing, and so are we. And so we're going to actually beef up the description of the podcast. So if you ever watch a podcast, you scroll up, you'll see a short description. Well, we're going to try to beef that up. We got some smart links in there now to everybody who's on the podcast. You can click on that and interact with those people on social media. You can get links to the show notes, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Discord, and so forth, and all the different podcast options out there: Stitcher, TuneIn, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, and so forth. And so check that out. Look for it. We're kind of putting something together and trying something new. And with that, we'll see you on the track later.
User in your channel stopped recording.
All right, clear. Title ideas.
What happened to Jesse's voice on that last little bit there? Did you guys hear that?
I heard something, yeah.
It like reverbed.
Sound like he was hitting a bong.
Are we good now, or am I still hitting the ball?
No, you're
Yeah,
good.
that's fine.
Too bad
All
I
right.
can't reproduce the sexy voice.
Oh God.
How about Kroenke's back? Or turning it around.
Kroenke it up.
Or
Hey, Dave, you got a couple minutes? You want to help me set this up?
Dover disappointment.
Dover disappointment. I like that.
User left your channel.
Road to Pro pace.
User was moved out of your channel.
But
All right.
Right in the
so-
middle.
Dover disappointment.
or something about the
That's
damage
good.
model.
I like Dover disappointment.
When you post it, there you go. Spell it right.
Okay, we got it. That's the title. I got to jump, guys.
Later, Mike.
It is Chase Cabre.
And Malik.
Yeah, Malik Ray.
I gotta be honest, I've been wondering this whole time about that. Every time I hear you guys say that, I was like, is it not Malik?
Oh my! Whatever Mike.
Did he say Malik? I was trying to remember how the guys said it.
Yeah, he said Malik.
Said it in the way that the announcer said it on the race stream.
So they did.
Is that how they said it?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Chris. Then it might
Yeah,
be.
no, I thought I would have said Cabre too. Like I wasn't sure, so yeah, I watched the stream. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, you're right. But yeah, the announcer dude said it different.
I swear I've heard it say Cabre, but okay, that's okay.
I'm sure I have too, because I've watched a couple K&N races with him in it.
But it's definitely Malik. I know that.
Malik.
Whenever Mike was saying Sunoco the other week, I couldn't pronounce that.
Sunoco?
Yeah, remember?
I.
They were sponsoring Malik Ray.
Oh, okay. Now, okay, I get what you're saying.
I don't know how he said it, but that's what it was.
How many of you guys are gonna run?
Not me, but I think I might get on and practice for a few laps. I haven't tried the other 2 sets.
I think David and I are practicing at Spa for the endurance race.
I sent that email to the emails below the title stuff and below the description. I sent that email with a couple tweaks to SimLab, so we'll see what they say. I'm gonna delete it in like a minute, so if you want to read it, go for it.
What's where's next week race? Anyone know?
Kansas.
Sweet.
I was talking to Morley about it today. He said that it's right up against the wall and you don't even have to lift. The way the package is running with it.
Fucking murdered people at Kansas last year.
Yeah, that was when there was fall off.
That ain't gonna happen this year. Gonna be another mini Talladega.
Sounds like it.
I'm wondering what Michigan's gonna be like after the.
That'll be a
It's got,
medium-sized Talladega.
well,
The
we
OS
got
are right if
the because it's got the repave too, right? Now we got the repave.
Old
Okay, maybe a
bastards are-
mini Daytona then.
I'm really interested to see how the people. I took the cup car around Sonoma. Man, that's going to be interesting with the new infield part. People can, if you miss the corner on that carousel at all, you're screwed.
Tony, the old bastards are running the Roval one day.
Oh, I'm fucking.
No.
Are they seriously at the Roval?
Yeah, the Roval one.
Oh, I am coming back.
I am so getting booted from that league.
Oh yeah, you're on probation like me. That sucks. Yeah, it's a terrible race for us.
Fuck. I might just skip another race.
If anyone has a second, look at the description, see if you want me to add anything.
Check it out now.
I'm downloading the update. I forgot to hit the update link for the. Oh, it's like a 2-second update.
You're missing Greg is gay.
That's okay. I now know what it feels like to be Tony Groves, but with a higher I rating.
Oh shit.
Yeah, coming from a guy that says he'll help a nigger out and leaves him hanging.
Who's
Told
the?
him I'll teach him how to go slower and just be around in the second half of the race, and he'll teach us how to go faster.
Greg
have
just
a nice
says he'll
balance.
teach you, but then he'll just...
I had a championship to win. I couldn't let the.
Well, now you get to suffer.
Do you really want to learn from me? I've lost 500 I rating in the last 4 weeks.
Yeah, I just want to learn how to go through the as So obviously, most of the corners are really fast because you're passing cars. So I want to know that. I don't want to know the overdriving part where you end up wrecking.
To be honest, I don't even know what I did differently to have it overreact last night. Morley was watching my stream. He thinks the tire heated up. I should have gone in and checked to see what the tire temp went to quickly.
It would have been nice to know because man, like I think any of those sets would have been okay with as cool as that track was.
Well, and I think the big issue is like you and Jesse were taking it easy, and I was actually trying to make positions up. And I think maybe I did overheat that tire.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, at the whole race, I ended up taking it pretty easy because, like I said, the first half I was just trying to survive, and then I hit a couple guys that wrecked in front of me, so then I had motor damage for the second half. And I couldn't really push that hard.
And I think my other biggest problem is and Mason, this isn't a slight on you, is I'm putting too much faith in the way of trying to run like Mike Ellis does, is or grab a set and jump in a race. I gotta start going back to where I was working on ones myself, or at least testing the one and making the setup so it feels fine for me.
Oh yeah, I hope you didn't run my set because it was trash.
I think I ran Brett's because it was a cold track. Yours, if it was a hot track, I was gonna run yours.
You wouldn't have spun out. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, but I probably would have bounced off the wall and hit the inside wall anyways.
Well, that's your own damn.
It's the inside wall that killed me because when I looked at the replay, my left front tire was so far pushed in. I probably could have been standing on it. I don't think I've had a safety rating this low in a long time, so I got to work on that.
By the way, Mason, I'm pretty sure I'll be able to make it in time for the NIS review section.
Shit, they're back.
Safely.
For the what section?
As far as like how the race went, NIS, the back half of the podcast, I should be able to make that schedule-wise, no problem. Most weeks.
Oh, you mean the results section?
Yeah, sorry, man.
Oh, okay. So you can't make any of the other stuff.
I like I say, I was watching the time as you're going through it. I'll miss probably the first half or the first third of whoever's getting interviewed, but moving forward from there, I should be on pretty safely.
Are you a tech guy? Do you know shit about? I'm just trying to like think, cause like I give Chris and David the VR ones.
Oh, okay.
Like how I think about whenever I set these, things up. Like I try to give people like I get Greg and David the road ones.
Or Fanatec.
More of the strengths.
Yeah, because Mike's an idiot when it comes to the road stuff.
Mason keeps sending messages telling me to get off the podcast because I don't have any strengths.
All you gotta do is click is going.
Yeah, you can always get on like a day early too and check out the script if there's any topics that you think you'd be good at